What's up, guys? Welcome to Words Matter. I am John. This is Brusha. This is not content. This is a conversation. In the conversation today, Brusha, why won't you let me help you?
Yeah, you'll find out. Yeah, I'll let you know. Just stick around, and I'll tell you all the reasons I don't want your help.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into that. But clearly the topic today is, why won't you let me help you? We're going to dive into the topic of help and what's underneath it all, because I am somebody who loves to help. I like to get involved. Obviously, I'll tell you why, but I really like to be somebody that people can lean on. I like to show up for people. It means a lot to me that they know that they can lean on me. Yeah. And so much so that I kind of push my help on you all the time, right? Which I'm sure that we're going to dig into all the psychology as to what's going on around that. But you are the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's shown up receiving it.
It's shown up in our relationship a couple times where it's like, hey, yo, I want to help. And you're like, yeah, bitch, I know. I'm fine.
I see that you want to, and I don't want you to. Goodbye. Yep.
Miss me with that. Yeah. So, let's get into it. What's your first thoughts? Where are we going?
Yeah, so today's episode, we're going to kind of be going back and forth between the giver and the receiver. So the giver being the person that's trying to offer some help.
I'm a giver.
Yeah. Receiver, person who is receiving help or resisting it. In my case.
Let's say the resistor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So we want to start with why is this even an emotionally charged topic? Like, why does this even happen? Why is there even tension in this area at times?
I think if it's okay with you, I want you to say your side and I'll say my side, since we're kind of taking sides to some extent.
Okay. Yeah.
So I can speak on my side, you can speak on yours. So I'll let you go 1st, of course. Ladies first.
So I am the receiver. And so...
Resistor.
What?
Resistor.
Resistor?
Yeah.
Not receiver.
Yeah.
Not too sexual.
No, I'm here for the sexual.
The receiver is
the sexual jokes, sexual. But the connotation is great, but you're just not receiving. You're resisting.
I'm going to say receiver.
Okay.
In the hopes of less resistance, you know what I mean?
Perfection.
The goal is less. Yeah, exactly. So if you're someone who has a difficult time accepting help,
sure.
That can be for a variety of reasons. So I think one that comes up a lot is pride. So you don't feel like you need the help and you feel like you should be able to do it on your own. There's something to prove around not accepting help and you being able to do it on your own. Like, I'm a strong, independent woman. Like, I don't need no man, woman, he, she, they stepping in. You know what I mean? And so it's this whole independence, autonomy thing, which is my brand, for better or for worse.
Carry on. Yeah.
For better or for worse. And so that can be, pride being one of them.
For sure.
The second reason it can be difficult is vulnerability. So it's vulnerable to accept help from another person. It can often feel like admitting weakness or incompetence. And so asking for help can be very vulnerable, and then equally so accepting it when it's offered. And then finally, just past experiences. So if you're someone who in the past has been offered help, and then when you've accepted that help, there were strings attached or ulterior motives or, something a little more under the surface regarding that help, that can leave you kind of burned and you're not wanting to accept help in the future. So those are a couple reasons that I think it can feel emotionally charged to someone who is on the receiving end or resisting help from another person.
Okay, so as a giver, I'm trying to give help. The places that cause a little bit of a tension between the dynamic is the fear of the rejection, right? I want to help. I want to offer you this. And you could be like, no, I got it. I'm good. And then I'm like, you don't need my help? What do you mean? That could feel really weird. But then there's also the thing that causes some tension is the miscommunication inside of it. Me thinking that me offering help is a safe thing. I'm just trying to do what's right or what's nice or what's kind. But you could be receiving it as judgment or pity or me doing that stuff. And that creates this kind of weird tension that, of course, is going to have a weird conversation that we need to have, right? And so
so tension about getting the words right, the messaging.
Yeah. Or just the whole feeling in general based on how resistant you may be as well. It may, Because if you get, because if you're like very resistant and I'm like, oh, you're doing this? I got you. Let me just do that for you. And you're like, I got it. That just, it wasn't about, actually, I want to say.
That isn't nice even.
Yeah. And I heard something the other day that I loved and I'm going to share it now. It's like I think it was Simon Sinek. He said, if somebody ever responds over a 5 in terms of volume, then it's probably not about what they're talking about. It's not about that. So if I'm like, hey, let me help you with this, and you're like, no, I got it. Okay, you're not talking about me getting the ketchup for you anymore. Like,
I would.
what's going on? Like,
I'm like, John, I've got the goddamn ketchup.
I'm like, yeah, Brush, we're not talking about ketchup anymore, babe. What's going on? Like, what's happening?
I'm like, I'm a strong, independent woman who doesn't need you to get the ketchup for me.
And there it is. Okay, got
I'm
it.
screaming.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like, it's like, so yeah, so those are some of the tension moments right there.
Yeah.
Right, for sure. So it's interesting, but I think as we unpack it, to dig a little deeper to the psychology of it from a giver's perspective, and I'm sure you have plenty that you can talk about on both sides. I've actually asked myself plenty of times, like, why is it that it's so important that I like to give and I like to help and I like to be involved? And it is literally because, if I'm being real about it, there is a sense of liking the need to be needed. There's this feeling that comes with, I need John's help, and it adds value to someone's life.
You add value to someone's life because you're able to.
No, I'm saying the fact that you need my help is adding value in my brain to my life, right?
Yeah.
And then when I do it, I'm getting the satisfaction of the accomplishment to do it. So there's all these little minor things, and I don't think that those things are necessarily bad. I think those things are somewhat intrinsically just you, and I think it's kind of beautiful. I'm saying that as I'm talking about myself. Like, I love.
It's kind of beautiful.
It's kind
this
of
thing that I do. It's like actually really stunning.
It's a little gorgeous.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. So I love that my natural first inclination is to help, is to offer you before me. I really love that about myself, truly. Consideration goes so far. If you can be considerate in everything you do and then thoughtful and all those things, it really helps develop and build a real relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Platonic, romantic, professional, you name it. So I love that about me. But yeah, if I'm going to be honest about the little devil that lives inside of it, there is this component that is kind of like self-fulfilling in some ways, right? And I don't know, what's your thoughts? Like on that, and then also like some of the psychology underneath the receive/resistance. I'm gonna continue to go there.
No, I think what you said, like your instinct being to help people is a great thing, and like leading with that is a positive thing in your life, and it helps connect you to people. And so I totally agree with that. Continue leading with that. I also don't think it's bad when you get that satisfaction for yourself. It can be like, yes, you're doing it to help someone. You genuinely want to help them, but
Certainly.
it's okay that it feels good to you too.
Sure.
What I am going to gloss over, because we have a whole other episode about it, is when people overgive. That's like a whole other part of
I won't
this.
be here for that episode. It'll be a
You're
solo.
the star of that episode.
It'll be a solo episode.
I'm not. I just want to like call out that can be part of this dynamic, but I'm not going to go into that as much. Like
Okay.
that can happen, that can exist, but I think getting a little something out of it is not a bad thing, and wanting to help, help your people at the same time. I think that's all good. I think like the psychology on the receiving end is, kind of what I mentioned that. Again, I think, going back to the pride, vulnerability, past experience, it's like the psychology around why you don't want to say yes, right? So now I want to dive in a bit more onto the barriers to giving and receiving help. So the first one is like unspoken stories, or like the story you're telling yourself in your head during these like interactions. And so from the receiving end, that is, if I accept help, I owe them something. Like, that is a barrier to accepting help. You have to overcome that feeling, that inclination, in order to accept the help and feel good about it, right?
Totally.
And so from the giver perspective, what would you say like the counterpart is?
Well, it's literally the exact same thing in reverse. It's like if I offer help and it's declined,
Yeah.
and you don't accept, then I have failed to show you that I love you or I care about you or I'm going to show up for you and I got your back or all those different things. And now I'm a terrible friend.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's a cycle that's hard to.
It's hard to be inside of. It's exhausting, mentally exhausting, because it's very real on my side of things. The simplest of things, a friend will be like, hey, yo, I just got a long night. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's just going to be, and like, I have to do my dishes. I have to do this. I got to take the dog to the vet. I got to do this. And somehow I got to study for this exam and this and all that. And I'm like, okay, cool. How can I chat GPT her study exam for her so I can build it out and help her? It's like, I'm just trying to help alleviate that. Yeah. But it's also like, bro, I got it. I was just kind of venting.
Yeah.
Like, and so now I'm like, well, now I've been a shit friend. I didn't show up when she needed me to show up. And I think that kind of stems, again, going to the psychology, but it's like, I watched my father help so many people in so many different things in so many walks of life. It's almost his brand. Like, he's always shown up for people, and people that you would like you're close with, but you're not really close with at all. He would be like, they just need this, and I can, and I will. Bet. Does it. And then you come back and sit down in his chair and turn on the news and just chill like nothing happened. It's like, he's just here to help people. And so watching that your whole life, it kind of ingrains. We've talked about this before, which is snow globes and all the different things. So I think that's where the psychology lives for me, of like how it started. Clearly everything starts as a kid, but like, yeah, it can hurt. It really can be a weird cycle of like, you're a shit friend. You're a shit partner. You're not showing up for them because you didn't help them get the fucking catch up.
You know what's interesting, though, is you said like a little bit back is that you're like, oh, that when I say no, don't help me with my study guide or whatever, and you're like, shit, I didn't show up for my friend. And like, I wonder though if showing up is accepting that they don't need the study guide.
That's exactly what it is.
You know, and
it's a journey though.
That's hard, and it's
because it's completely detrimental to my character.
Yeah. Right.
It's not, but my brain is saying that. It's a lesson to be learned that's very hard.
Yeah, and there's differences, right? Because we're going to use the study guide example. I don't know who you're making study guides for.
No, I can't tell you everybody I know.
All right.
Get out of my business.
It's like being on the receiving end, there's people who say no to help because I just don't need your help with the study guide. Right? Like, I legitimately don't. Like, I've got it. I actually need to do it. It's easier for me to do it. It's part of how I'm studying. Like,
the process is the study.
There's all these, like, valid reasons.
For sure.
There's that sort of, like, receiver. And then there's the resistor who is saying no because they, you know, feel like they have to. They feel like they're a failure if they ask for help. And that they actually could use your help, but they're saying no because of all these barriers, right? And so it's like, that's
interesting.
I think it's important to remember that just because someone says no to like you offering help doesn't mean that they're resisting. Sometimes it can be like valid, just
right. And
I don't need your help. Like, thank you, but no, thank you.
And reading between those lines is sometimes hard, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Finding what the interpretation is inside the lines like that when you have to read between is difficult at times. Okay, so as a giver, and I'm always trying to give, and I'm met with resistance at times that causes like a little tension. You at the same time having to resist or whatever, not you, but like as a receiver, like sometimes that's causing tension on your end as well. And so we have these tense moments, these tense dynamics. Give us some tools of navigating the tension, right? Yeah. Because we want to find our way through that rather than just doing what we tend to do these days and just run like hell.
Yeah,
like,
push and pull and just like being stuck in this cycle.
Or let's fight. Like, let's fight about like me trying to help. You don't let me help you. And we're like fighting over help. That seems ridiculous, right? It's kind
of silly.
Let's have some tools to navigate.
It's a little silly. Okay. Yeah, tools. Okay. So
it's a little silly.
It's a little silly. Okay. From the giver's perspective, he's representing all givers. Yep.
He's a giver.
He's a giver, but using gentle language, right? Like softly approach this and kind of leaving the door open for that receiver to help like mold what that help looks like potentially. Can be like a helpful way to navigate that. But yeah, just like coming in super hot might not be the move for this particular dynamic.
So don't just do it for him.
Yeah. John, that is potentially the worst thing you could do. How would you know about that?
I'm clearly just playing. I'm just playing. Lessons have been learned. Lessons have been learned.
It's rocking. Don't just do it, bitch. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. And this goes into the other tool or like thing to consider is like avoiding assumptions. So don't assume you should just do it, but also don't assume what the other person needs. You know, like you're on the outside looking in. So if you're going to like offer someone help with something, actually, this is a good example. I've heard this a lot from moms where they have a brand new baby, right? And it's fucking hard. They're exhausted.
Takes a village.
And someone comes to their house and says, I want to help you. And they're like, let me take the baby. And the mom is like, I don't need you to take the baby. I need you to do my dishes. Like, I need you to cook something. And so it's like this person is coming
and robbing them of this moment with their child too.
Well, also, no, they're coming though with like really great intention, right? Like,
sure, of course,
they just want to help. Like, they think they're doing the right thing, and
of course,
but they've assumed that they're struggling with the baby. It's like, no, bitch, I haven't showered. Like, I
haven't tied my shoes yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I have other things, but I can do that while I hold the baby. So I think that's a good example. Is that like if you're gonna offer help, again, maybe leading with some like questions about like where they're at, what they're doing, what they actually do need help on, and then like building your offer off of that instead of just jumping in being like, today I have an offer for you based off of all these assumptions I made.
Present them with a whole thing.
I would be like,
here's a presentation.
Cool PowerPoint presentation, but
She loves PowerPoints.
I do love a PowerPoint presentation. It's way to my heart for sure. So
we've learned.
So from the receiving side, this is more of like an internal tool. And so I would have people start reframing the idea of accepting help from a weakness to a strength. Like your ability to say yes, your ability to accept that is actually showing such strength, courage, and
vulnerability.
Goddamn.
Lead with vulnerability. I say it every day. Go on. Sorry, not to take over your...
No. Yeah. Correct. Yes, exactly. So it is about reframing that. And so maybe before just like immediately shutting down or like shutting down help, have that conversation with yourself and think if you can respond differently. And also advocate for what you want on like the flip side, right, of the giver. Like if they're offering something that's not helpful, be brave enough to say, yes, I'd love help, but I actually like really need you, in the other example,
do it like this.
My dishes. Or yeah, exactly.
Totally.
And so having it be more of like a back and forth conversation than like a offer yes or no, right?
Love that.
I think that's part of it. And then starting small. If you're someone that really struggles to accept help, like it doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world right away. You know what I mean? Like start with like little things like someone running an errand for you or like it's, practice makes perfect as with like anything in life. And so it doesn't have to be the most vulnerable, big, crazy part of your life that you need help with. It can just be like, hey, John, I have the craziest day. And like, it would mean the world to me if you went and got me some fucking lemon Mio from Albertsons for my water.
It was very specific.
It's because I've asked you to do that before. Very brave of me. Very vulnerable.
How did I respond?
You said yes. You bought some.
Was it just simple? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but to be fair.
Or was it like, I'd love to. I can't wait to help.
To be fair, you drink that at my house too. So it was in your best interest as well.
Okay. So. Yeah, she takes it away. The fuck?
Oh my God. So anyways, those are some just like easy tips and tricks. So now I'd like to pass the ball to you to give us more examples of how to kind of like articulate or actually have this back and forth. So
I've been thinking about that. So I'm going to do it from both perspectives, giver and receiver, right? So as the person giving help, in this example, to make it easy for this episode, from John to Brescia, right? It would be something along the lines of, hey, I recognize that like you don't need help and you don't like to receive help. I want to be very open to that. I want to make sure that you notice that I see that. At the same time, I want you to know that I really look forward to showing up for you, and I love to have the opportunity to do so. With that being said, there's no pressure, but I would love to know how I can support you in whatever this endeavor is, right? In this case, having a new child. Like, can you let me know how I can support you? Because it means something to me to show up for you in this moment when you clearly do need some help. But I'm also not pushing.
Clearly.
Yeah.
You clearly need help.
Girl, you're limping everywhere. So saying it soft like that. And I love the line, how can I support you? Yeah. That line is so significant to use with your friends, with your parents, with your children, with your employees, you name it. How can I support you? Mm-hmm. It's so significant to say it and frame it like that. So that's kind of how I would do it from a giver. From a receiver, if I was Brescia, I would simply...
He's exasperated.
If I was Brescia, I'd be like, don't take my autonomy.
God damn it. Big ass breath you took?
Know,
okay. It's exhausting being me. Keep going.
No response. No. From the receiving end, I would say, hey, listen, this is kind of hard to say. It's not my normal approach, but I'm trying to be better. And I know you want to help, and I'd love to actually ask for some help. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard for me to do, so bear with as I try to do that. But as I go into, my study group thing, I have so many things going on. It would really help me if you could just go pick up a few things from the store for me and then come back and feed my cats, because I'm going to be at a study group all night. But that would literally be so helpful. Mm-hmm. If you can just find a way to announce that this is difficult and just bear with me, I'm going to try to lean in. And then also, like you said, starting small with something can you just go pick up some Mio or something like that? That can start to make you feel open enough to let them. And once they've done that a couple times, it gets easier to ask for help. Yeah. And I do want to say this. Spit it the fuck out.
Spit it the fuck out.
Never going away. Cut that shit. Okay.
Oh,
don't. As a giver, if you're going through A, and then I try to show up to give some help, it feels nice when I can do so. Mm-hmm. If you're going through A and you reach out to me and say, hey, this is what's going on, I could really use some help, it's 300 times more rewarding to the giver.
Yeah.
If that receiver can meet them halfway and ask for it, yeah, when you ask for help, I'm just going to make it about you. When you ask for help from me, it literally, I can't wait to do it because I enjoy helping and showing up for you like that. And it's an opportunity. And for you to be vulnerable enough to admit that you could use some help, I want to honor that. I want to match that. I want to handle that vulnerability with care. I want to see you. I want to show up. I want to be there for you. So 1,000,000,000%. And I feel, because you're scratching that itch, needed in that moment, right? And so I do think it's important to say, for the receivers who are afraid of letting it happen, when you can show up and do that for the person to let them show up for you, it's going to go light years further. For sure.
Something I'll add to that is for me, when I've had to, or not had to, that's not the right word.
You never have to, yeah.
Never have to. But when I have chosen to accept or help or ask for help, I sometimes say, I lead the question or lead the conversation by saying vulnerable moment here.
Totally.
Because it immediately disarms them and it says
all the time.
Everything. I don't have to give a monologue about everything. I can just be vulnerable moment. This is setting the stage, and then I can be it's hard for me to accept help, but I need X, Y, and Z. Or yes, can you please help me with X, Y, and Z? That means a lot to me. So that's a great tool. I want to ask this other question though. So this is a different scenario.
Here we go.
I'm someone who has a hard time asking for help, and I finally am okay, John, I need help. And this is all the things, and you can't, or you have to say no. But I was just brave enough to ask, and I'm about to get shut down. How do you, and that I'm
I love this question because I know exactly how I'm responding.
How are you going to navigate that?
Yeah, this one's fairly easy, actually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, I know you thought this was going to throw me, but there's different ways of helping. There's different ways of being supportive. And it doesn't always have to be in the way that you prefer, which you've stated from the other side.
Yeah.
In this is a role reversal of the same approach. Mm-hmm. So if you came to me and was I really need some help. I need you to take me to the airport tomorrow at 1:00. I don't know, whatever. And I can't because I literally have an amazing client meeting at 12:30 or something like that. I'm going to say, yo, I am so sorry. You know, I got you. I actually have something going on tomorrow. However, what I can do is I'm going to order an Uber for you. I'm going to get that. I'm going to take care of that for you. Or my friend can do this. I'm going to have my friend do this. Or, yo, what if you came with me to my meeting and I just dropped you off 45 minutes early? Can we do that? Like, I'm going to find a way to still support, still help you get to where you need to be without physically being able to do whatever it is you needed.
Yeah.
That's how I would approach that.
Yeah.
How would that make you feel?
So I think the biggest thing I've noted here is that if I need an Uber, I'm going to ask for a ride at a specific time. You can't take me and get a free Uber. So that's...
I didn't say I wasn't taxing your ass later. Like, you can buy a meal or some shit.
I'm kidding. But no, that makes sense. I think, like you said, it's like the soft no and explaining why and that you would have normally been there to help. And then I think, the problem solving, like helping... like that, because that can take a lot of effort. You know what I mean? Just you being like, okay, well, we have options. Like, I can't take you, but we've got X, Y, Z. And
I got a friend who's going to the airport anyways. Yeah, can you just hop in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I've like been like, oh, I asked for help. It wasn't exactly what I needed to get out of it or what I thought I was going to get out of it. But then ultimately my problem was solved.
And that's the biggest component, right? Because I am committed to handling your vulnerability with care. I want everybody to hear that again. This is a term we're going to use a lot this year. Handling your vulnerability with care. When somebody leads with vulnerability, you have to honor that and almost reward that, especially if it's new ground for them.
Yeah.
You want to reinforce that behavior, so to speak, if we're getting like into technical terms.
Yeah.
You want to reinforce it. And so my job is to make you feel as supported as I can in that moment without actually taking you to the airport. Mm-hmm. And you will leave that conversation knowing like, hey, it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's clear that he wants to help and it's clear that it wasn't for nothing. So I really appreciate him.
Totally.
So that's how I would do that one. Yeah.
No, I love that. I think something else I want on the record is like this whole time you've been the giver and I've been the receiver. I like to give too.
So this has been Words Matter. Thank you guys so much. Doop. There, that's fucking great.
Also, the sexual connotations behind all of this is so funny. I'm so here for this. But
this is why you wanted to say I'm a giver, bitch.
I was thinking about this. I was like, bitch, it sounds like I'm just take.
I know, that's why I was like, I'm the giver the whole goddamn time.
I was like, bitch, I love helping people too.
I like to give, bitch.
I'm a giver. I'm a giver.